7.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie. On this Wednesday evening, I wanted to make sure it wasn't Thursday yet. We got 17 minutes until Thursday. With me, my good friends, Mr. Brett Bandick, and a new guest of the show, Sparrow, a.k.a. Jeff Elder, biggest Colorado Avalanche fan you'll ever meet. Gonna let him introduce himself in just a moment. Tonight's topics, we're going to be speaking on the Panthers punching their tickets to the Stanley Cup Finals. We've got some reports about King James. We're going to give you our takes on what we think the future holds for Mr. LeBron James. MLB is in full swing, approaching that 50-game mark. Some teams have already passed the 50-game mark. We're going to talk to you about who we think are pretenders, contenders, and just who's flat out awful. NFL Cut Day candidates as well. And are the Commanders really going to change their name again? We're going to speak on that. And we also have some breaking news coming out of Foxborough that we're going to get on into that segment. Jeff, first and foremost, buddy, I want to say it's a pleasure to finally get you here. I know that you've had a lot go on in the past year, and I know you've been very busy. But I want to say it's a pleasure to have you here. One of my longest standing friends here in Florida since I moved out here. And without further ado, buddy, I want you to introduce yourself, let our listeners know who you are, and anything you want to bring, let it rip, baby. I know, how did you become an Avalanche fan, for one? That's a great starting point.
Well, I just want to say it's good to finally be on. My voice is a little gone, a little-ish, but you guys are my boys, and I always want to get on here and talk about hockey. You guys talk about hockey, you cover it well, but I want to say I'm, a little bit of a pro.
You could say what you want to say, buddy. You could say Richie is a Rangers fan, and he doesn't have enough guys on the panel that are passionate about hockey because it's the truth. Yeah. We've wanted a hockey guy on here for quite some time, so I'm pleased that you're with us. I really mean that, and I'm happy you're here, bud.
Well, I mean, I remember the Rangers Avalanche game. I think the Rangers were up 6-0, and you whipped my ass on the couch.
Yeah, that was a cool little hockey fight. I was able to find you with your own jersey.
You killed us that night, but I'm an Avalanche fan for one reason. Like I'm from Chicago originally. Should be a Blackhawks fan, but I wasn't in hockey, then. And a good friend of mine, God rest his soul, Dan, got me into hockey, and I just
Dan who?
Dan Tannenbaugh. He just got me into hockey like big time, and I hated the Red Wings, and the Red Wings and Avalanche like rivalry back then. I mean, come on, like who didn't love that? I mean, hockey is missing that now. But man,
the strike hurt the sport, buddy. The strike definitely hurt. But yeah, those rivalries, Forsberg back in the day.
Yeah, baby.
What year was that? 94, 95? What year was that?
It was like 2000, like the 2001, 2002.
But even prior to that, they won their first cup 96.
Yeah.
Right after the Rangers
did it. The Avalanche won it back in 01, right?
Well, yeah, we 96, 01, and 22, but I want to bring in the Florida Panthers. They haven't been to the Stanley Cup since 96. And the Avalanche moving down from moving down from Quebec to Denver.
Thought the Rocky Mountains would be a little more rocky.
Yeah, and
I was thinking the same thing.
That was the first time the Florida Panthers got to the Cup final. We swept them, but this year, honestly, I never expected the Florida Panthers to be where they are. I think just beating the Boston Bruins and, records and records and records all year, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And, I take it even if Colorado did that, it doesn't matter. The playoffs are a different beast. I think the Florida Panthers they were down 3-1 against a Boston Bruins team that just had everything. And I said all year, Boston, rest your guys, rest your goalies, they didn't care. They wanted the records. And Florida Panthers, they were down 3-1, and they came back and won the series. I think that the Florida Panthers doing that might be raising the cup.
By resting their players.
Well, no, they should have rested their players.
No, I'm saying that like Florida rested their players, correct?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. See, that's been a big issue, in particular with the NBA as well, because everybody rests their players. So everybody's like, "Oh my God, they rest their players," blah blah blah, and then playoffs hit, and then these players don't have the correct amount of rest minutes, and they just they don't exist.
It's a growing theme. It's a growing theme in the 82 game seasons, because the NHL and the NBA are identical with the 82 games, barring a pandemic. Obviously, that goes without saying, that altered seasons, or barring a strike, that you get an occasional strike once every 2 decades, maybe. The NHL is finally pulling themselves out of the damage that strike did to them. Because when we talk about, just to put it on a full spectrum, talking about the NHL, they had the TV deal. The TV deal is so very important to bring in casuals and show them how beautiful of a game hockey is. Because, you're talking about the golden era, 80s and 90s, particularly 90s for me, when I really grasped into being a Ranger fan. My first game was actually against your franchise when they were still in Quebec. Mm-hmm. Quebec Nordiques, New York Rangers, 93 season, the year before we won the Cup. We got beat that night 5-3. We got eliminated that year as a 1 seed to Jaromir Jagr and Mario Lemieux of the Pittsburgh Penguins. They won 2 in a row. We finally broke the 54-year hex in 1994. And I must say, man, it hurts on 2 levels. I don't have any bad for the Florida Panthers whatsoever. They do not bother me, except for when the Beezer went there. I was pissed at first, but I didn't realize how great Mike Richter was going to be. NHLPA 93, Van Beesbrook was on both squads. I remember that. That was hilarious. Yeah. But anyway, the point I'm making is with the Heat and the Panthers, to Brett's point about the rest and about kind of managing to make sure that your guys are where they need to be when it matters most, it is just so ironic that they're both in the same arena. Similar to 94, as a kid, for me, it was a phenomenal season because we had a comparable situation where the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals were going on at MSG at the same time. This is something that's about to happen in South Florida, assuming the Miami Heat finish the job against the Boston Celtics. I don't necessarily think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when. Obviously, the Florida Panthers, I mean, when you beat the Boston Bruins, I'm going to admit, dude, I didn't think they were going to do anything after that. I just figured, okay, they played the series of their lives.
Yeah.
And, am I disappointed being a Ranger fan? Knowing that it was the biggest obstacle was taken away without us having to do anything? Of course I was. Tampa, championship pedigree. The Maple Leafs finally got them.
I mean, honestly, the big guns of the NHL were gone. Mm-hmm. And that's Avalanche. Okay. Yeah. We ran into a team the second year. I laughed when I saw, Avalanche and Kraken. Are you kidding me? What happened?
Yeah, a lot of casuals didn't even realize that Seattle had a team. But one thing I must admit is that with the new TV deals and the availability of the NHL getting on primetime, not on the third network. Like, remember for a while it was NBC Sports Network.
Yeah.
A lot of people's cable packages didn't even include that. And that's a huge part of viewership.
Right.
But to the casuals, I will say this. Going to an NHL game in person, even if you're not necessarily an NHL fan going into it, I guarantee you that you're going to be impacted, and it's going to change your perspective on what you think about the sport.
No, yeah, 100%.
100%.
Hockey is a phenomenal game. Jeff, I'm pumped that you're here, bro, because I'm saying, I want to incorporate hockey more into the show. That goes without saying, and you are my guy with that. I'm going to speak on your Avs for a moment before we move it along, though. You come up short defending your cup. It's a hard thing to repeat in any sport, let alone the NHL. I think injuries really did you this year. When I look at, it's a war of attrition, and a lot of people bitch and moan and complain about the rest minutes because a lot of people say, well, it's not a good look for working people. You guys are making millions, you're missing games, da da da. But at the end of the day, it's a different kind of situation going into these playoffs. It's a growing theme. You're not going to see it in football because football is more like a dash. Because you get off to a bad start in the NFL, your season could be over in October. It's a little different with football. Baseball, I think when it comes to rest minutes and things of that nature, rest days, however you want to coin phrase it, I would say it's more about bullpen budgets because I think pitching-wise is where you see it the most. And I could speak on it tonight after the Yankees got beat, and we'll elaborate on that in a little bit. Sometimes you got to lose a game to win a bigger goal or a bigger war. And what I mean by that is sometimes you're just going to be in a game that you could win, but you got to put in relievers that are not necessarily your main men because you need to eat innings and you need to just kind of hope that it could work. So I don't have any issues with what happened in the Bronx tonight. It's a war of attrition. Baseball is an NHL season times 2 or an NBA season times 2. Yeah. 162 versus 81. And
a big difference.
We keep the theme on. Yeah, while we keep the theme here on that, I want to ask you guys a question. Have either one of you ever met a Nuggets fan?
No. I have not met one single Nuggets fan. Not a single.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I've met Bronco fans. I've met Avs fans.
I mean, I was a Nuggets fan for a brief moment just because Carmelo Anthony was there for a little while.
Yeah, from the Qs. I understand that.
Yeah, that's I like watching Melo play and JR, the Birdman, all on the same team. I enjoyed watching them play, but I was never a Nuggets fan by any means. But no, I've never personally met a Nuggets fan. I don't even know if they exist. I really don't. Besides on TV.
I think with the NBA, more so than in any other sport, I think that it's more about the players. I mean, you have diehards that are diehards because they've always repped their team no matter what. But I do believe that you saw it with Golden State. I mean, hell, you saw it in the 90s with the Chicago Bulls. I remember in that era of the Michael Jordan Last Dance era Bulls, even pre-Last Dance when Jordan was on the ascension, you saw a lot of Chicago jerseys in MSG.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these people didn't stick with them once Mike ultimately called it a career. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think basketball, more so than any other particular sport, has had an influence on flip-flop fans because of their love for a particular player. I myself, as a very young dude, Magic Johnson was my guy. But that didn't deter me from being a Knicks fan because, believe me, it would have been a lot easier to be a Laker fan. And sometimes I regret that decision.
I can see that.
But you understand, like, from a marketing level, I mean, Michael Jordan, even if you weren't a fan of his, he made an impact on you on some way. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, in today's
absolutely.
Well, he was a global phenomenon. You know what I mean? So it's not like, people overseas are wearing Michael Jordan jerseys. It's like whenever the Brits come over to the States, they wear a Yankees hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Yankees is a global
you know what I mean?
Logo. Like, this is the most recognizable sports logo.
It's a global phenomenon. You know what I mean? So it's like they really don't know what they're getting into when they wear it. Like you can run into any Brit or European wearing a Yankees hat, and you can ask them a question about Aaron Judge or any of these other players. Oh, what do you think about Clay Holmes? And they're like, oh.
I just like the colors. I like the colors.
Yeah, I like the colors. It matches my outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oddly enough, a little story about the logo. This logo actually this is not a known fact by a lot of people. The Knicks used to have this logo, this same logo on their shorts. The Yankees ultimately got the trademark that was theirs because this is at one point was actually linked to New York, not specific to the Yankees. It's not really like a super known fact. The other day this morning when I did my audio show, I had the old school Knick logo, which is essentially this in orange. That used to be what they rocked on their shorts. But anyway, to kind of come full circle with this, I think what I'm trying to say, and the reason why I find some humor in this, I'm super happy for Jokic. I'm super happy for this Nuggets team because I feel that it's an East Coast bias when it comes to how we cover teams. We all know that the Celtics and Lakers have a legendary lineage, each of them. And it seems like that's what the NBA wanted. But I think more importantly, the finals that the fans want is the finals that the fans are going to get. It's a polarizing series because, like I said, similar to what the Panthers did in hockey, the Heat are doing it in the NBA. They went through a gauntlet, man. They and it's not over yet. They still got to close the door on the Celtics, which is not going to be easy. But you knock out number 1 seed Milwaukee, similar to what the Panthers did with the Bruins. Then you take a knockout against one of your historic rivals, the New York Knicks, beating them in 6 hard-fought games. And now you're up 3-0, now 3-1 after the Celtics took a game finally. It's phenomenal. And then on the other side, it's like you have literally the best team all season versus a team that's 2 years removed from the NBA Finals that this year was more worried about making sure that everybody was clicking at the right time. Because I don't think the Heat are the typical 8 seed. I think we could agree on that much. Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy is a different animal.
Well, Jimmy, I was going to hit on that. I want your guys' honest opinion on this because I mean, rumor. You can already know where I'm going with this.
Go ahead, buddy.
Is Jimmy Butler MJ's kid?
Oh,
no, I don't think so.
I'm rumor, blah blah blah. Like I'm seeing all this stuff. Oh, he looks like him. Oh my God, he does look stuff like him. Like
honestly, I mean, you guys know me.
They are the same height. They do have certain features that favor each other, but no, I don't think that's his kid.
It's been a rumor for a while, but
I know it was like because
pending a blood test and a DNA test, like I don't know, man.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I actually on TikTok, and
I think it's just social media blowing shit up, but it could be me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brensky. I don't think it is, but it's still humorous.
You never know.
Oh, it's very humorous. Like it's definitely going to put something in the back of your mind, you know.
Yeah, it's funny.
The reason why I would have a suspicion is just the way Jimmy's taken over these playoffs, and I think it's the best compliment you could ever get. Oh, maybe he is Jordan's kid. You know what I'm saying? Because of like how he's done it. The one similarity that I see in both their games is that I feel that they both prime for prime allow the game to come to them. You know, I think that's something really special about Jimmy's game.
What got me the other day was the head-to-head conflict he had with Darren Williams from Boston.
Oh, that was funny. It reminded me of X-Men and Jordan.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it was. It was like X-Men, Jordan, head-to-head, bro. Head-to-head.
Yes.
That same bull crap. I was like, oh, my God. It may be true. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. Like, that's just me. I don't know.
You know what's funny, dude? Even though I knew there was a Jimmy Butler rumor with the whole Michael Jordan thing, and you know how people always are into these conspiracy theories, this will make you laugh. I literally said what I just said in the moment. X-Men, Jordan, 92.
Yeah, dude.
MSG.
Dude, I saw it. I was like, oh my God.
It didn't. But the thing is, I didn't off the top of my brain think about the father-son thing. I just said, oh, that's so funny. But, you know, Jimmy is a funny dude because what I like about Jimmy is that he's quite the troller. He loves to have fun with the media. He loves to have fun on the court. The guy just loves playing basketball.
Yeah, but what happened after that confrontation? He took over the fourth quarter, last 5 minutes of the game.
No, absolutely. But the point I'm making is
That's
just
some
like
MJ
we
shit.
as fans, just like we as fans, read the Twitter feeds and all the conspiracy theories and all the caca, and some of it's real and a lot of it's BS. The point to be made is that Jimmy's the type of dude that he would do something like that just to get us talking right now. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I really do. Oh, right. I want to hit on a little bit of these cut day candidates in the NFL before we move it along to MLB. NFL cut day candidates. Bretsky, I'm going to start with you. And also, we're going to hit on a potential Commanders changing their name again. Let's start with some cut day candidates. Brett, you got anybody in the brain that you think?
I think my number one, Rich, we talked about this before, is going to be, King Henry.
Derrick Henry's going to be moving along. You think so?
Yeah. I think his time at Tennessee is done. He's got to go to a contender. It would just be better for the NFL, but it would be better for him. He's got to go to a contender, man. Like as a football fan watching him, you can tell that he's frustrated. He's the workhorse. He's got to get on a better offensive team, just a playoff contender. I mean, whether it be Buffalo, KC. Oh my God.
I'm gonna throw something at you on a devil's advocate level.
That's my biggest one is King Henry, but D-Hop is still gonna be. He's up there.
I don't see him getting cut though.
No, he's not gonna get cut, but I think they'll wait till the trade deadline and then dish him out. He's got to go to a contender as well. But I mean, you mentioned before, his trade clause and all this other stuff. But the top two for me are Derrick Henry and D-Hop. I got to put Mike Evans as number 3. But there's at least 5 or 6 more players on that list that we can go through. We just don't have enough time to do it.
No, and we have a few. I mean, dude, we're at the 22-minute mark. We got plenty of time actually. So I'll kind of piggyback you off of that. Okay, Mike Evans. We'll start with him. Everybody's going to try to do their best to get away from Tampa now that the TB12 era is over, and now they go back to obscurity. Now they're going to go back to being that 38% winning percentage or something horrible like that. They do have 2 Super Bowls in their franchise's history, one with Brad Johnson, one with TB12. But historically, with the exception of those cool defenses they had with Rondé Barber and company, they are a very terrible organization for most of their existence. That's where they're heading to right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's the Tom Brady effect, you give them that. The Patriots were, for the most part, with the exception of a couple of good seasons where they did go to Super Bowls, for the most part, they were obscure for the better part of 4 decades. Enter the Tom Brady factor. There's a dynasty, and yes, there was other variables. You have a defense, you have a great coach, a lot of variables, but the common denominator with both organizations was Tom Brady. You got to say that. And when you look at the winning percentages historically versus the winning percentages, 2 decades of winning in New England basically flipped the script about what kind of organization they were. Because if you go back to the 1990s or the 1980s or the 1970s, for the most part, New England was a doormat. Yeah. Now they have 6 Lombardis up there.
Yeah, up until 85.
Yeah, well, 85 was their first appearance. They got the snot beat out of them by Jeff's Bears.
Yeah, but that's the Bears. That's one of the greatest teams of all time. So I'm not even touching that one. That's the 85 Bears. That's
shout out Emory Moorhead. Shout out Emory Moorhead, Idris's uncle, actually a member of that 85 Bear team. Very cool. Yeah. His son, Aaron Moorhead, won a Super Bowl with the Colts. Oddly enough, against the Bears. Oddly enough, the only father and son duo to win Super Bowls. That's kind of cool. You said Derrick Henry. This is what I wanted to play devil's advocate with you about King Henry. I understand that you're like, oh, he has to be in a better offense and this and that. But this is my thing with Henry. Phenomenal running back, and we know what he brings. But I beg to question if he thrives in an offense like a KC, in an offense like a Buffalo, because he is an old school prototypical running back that runs 25 times a game. I think what I'm trying to say is a player like a Derrick Henry takes the ball out of the quarterback's hands. And I don't believe that they're the type of organization, the Kansas City Chiefs, that would welcome that. And plus, I don't think I think in Isaiah Pacheco.
No, I mean it was a hypothetical, answer.
Well, let me ask you this: where do you think you could fit for him?
You put him on a running offense at, let's say, Eagles, behind that offensive line. Holy shit!
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's just, it just depends where you put him.
No, I see where you're going with that. I do, because that was my biggest fear when there were some reports coming out that he was getting traded there. But yes, to my point about it, this is Zapp coming in right now, Mike Zappy.
Hey.
And yes, I tend to agree with Zappy. I don't think the Eagles have the money to swing that because they are a couple of inches of hell.
Well, I mean, they just paid off, their quarterback. So
not just him. It's a lot of contracts there, but plus they traded for Swift. So to Zappy's point, while hypothetical, not a realistic fit. Do I think he stays in Tennessee? Will Levis? No, I don't. I don't see the value in staying there. I'm trying to think to myself where he makes sense, and I'm actually combing through rosters in my head. I'll hold that thought. I'll keep it moving.
Jeff, give us your thoughts while I grab a beer.
On football, you'll be right back.
All right, check it out. Cut the Candace. Let's talk about the Commanders for a second, and then we're going to come back to, hey, fellas, what happened to Mr. Mike Zappy? Did he get surprised or possibly fined or banned until further consideration? From the Richie Hicks Jr. podcast show for bashing. Oh, that's awesome. Ivan is hilarious. You remember Ivan, right? You remember Ivan?
Ivan's on there?
Yeah, Ivan just popped in.
Oh.
Dude. Brett, where do you have your beer? Upstairs? Oh, okay, there he is.
No, it's in the fridge, you Mahone, where I keep it cold.
All right, very good. Yeah, read that for a moment, Brett. Yeah, Ivan's having some fun with Zappy.
Zappy gets spent.
Okay, Ivan just redirected this show, and I'm going to follow Ivan's lead. So, we're coming back to the NFL in a moment. Some reports have the New York Knicks, my New York Knicks, being the favorites to land LeBron James if he opts out of his Lakers contract. We give our thoughts on his plans for next season. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Elder. Do you think since he's pretty much done what most NBA players would want to do, for the most part, do you think he goes back to Cleveland and just kind of retires there and does like one final swan song with his original team? Do you think that the Knicks, maybe that could add to the legacy if he could get them over the hump? The Lakers are his current employer. Nobody said he's leaving, but he has the opportunity to leave if he chooses so. Or is this going to retire? Space Jam 2.5? I don't know.
It would be Space Jam 3, but
technically.
I really hope he retires and gets the hell out of the league. I mean, I'm not a basketball fan, but I see what you
were.
I was. And Michael Jordan, I've seen all the memes and all that. LeBron James is a flopper, and there's, it's just my opinion. I don't watch basketball.
No, you're entitled to it. That we welcome your opinions here. But let me ask you this: Is he a better flopper than Vlade Divac?
It's kind of close, but I give it to LeBron. I mean,
what would you say is since you've made it clear that you don't like LeBron? What is your biggest turnoff with him? And then I'm going to talk about where I think he's going to go, and we'll pass it around.
I mean,
what would you say is your biggest turnoff with LeBron as a player or whatever have you?
He's just cocky. He's like he thinks he's the greatest of all time. Jordan never said that. Jordan,
that's a fair point.
His team was the greatest of all time.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I like that point, actually. I'll put it to you like this. Jordan's my GOAT. And I'm not saying I'm a Jordan fan because I was busy cussing his ass out when I saw what he did to the New York Knicks.
He's the
He
GOAT.
tortured Knicks fans. If you were a child or a teenager or whatever and watching Michael Jordan do it to your team, that was torture. But there's a respect. There's a respect attached to that torture. Brett Bandick, your call. Where does LeBron go next season? Or does he go into retirement?
No, I think he's staying in LA. A few reasons. Number one, his son Bronny is going to USC.
Yes.
So that means that LeBron is going to be in California watching all his home games, which is where he wants to be.
That's a good point.
It's the lifestyle. It's the lifestyle. That's where he wants to be. Secondly, I'm hearing rumors if they bring Kyrie is an option for them to bring over.
Do you know how comical that would be if they tried that again?
They bring Kyrie over, they'll make they can make a run. They can make a run. Absolutely, they can make a run. I don't see LeBron.
Bronny at USC makes sense. I get your point there. USC being right there, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, dude, it's his son, and his life goal is to play with his son. It's not necessarily his son's goal to play with his father. So, I mean, it's one of those things, you know. But I think he's not going to retire. Number two, I already went over number two, but number three, there's still the debate out there for the GOAT. He considers himself the GOAT, but there are millions of people in the world that do not consider him the GOAT. I think until this debate is finally resolved, that he will retire. He's not going to.
It's a horrific debate.
I hate the debate. He's not going to retire in the next 3 years. He's going to be.
He's 38, 39. So you got him retiring around 41 years old or so?
He will still be in the league the next 2 or 3 years. I guarantee it.
You know, he keeps missing the fucking easy.
He is not going to retire. I don't see it. It's not happening.
I'm just going to say this before I give you my 2 cents on where I think LeBron ends up. My GOAT never shot an important shot in a must-win, stay-alive playoff game off the side of a backboard. That's all I'm going to say about that. My GOAT never did that. Another point.
I know that, dude, but like I don't see him retiring just because of the number of questions that are still up in the air regarding how great he is.
I don't think there are really that many questions because this is my thing.
He should retire after that missed shot.
But he's not going to.
I don't see too many people.
He's not going to.
I don't see too many people that have seen both Michael Jordan and LeBron James play that are comfortable saying that LeBron's better. I noticed that a big blow, and I'm not trying to take anything away from LeBron's game. I consider him a top 10 player.
He's up
all the time.
Yeah.
But my frustration with it's a recency bias thing because my thing is, and I tell this to a lot of people, you can't compare two players. There he is. You can't compare two players if you haven't seen them both play. As far as LeBron goes, this is my genuine opinion. I think he's going to take a year off. I think he's going to kind of sit back and see where Bronny goes, and I think he's going to sign with the team that Bronny goes to. And no, I do not think he'll be a New York Knick because I don't think it would benefit the Knicks to bring on that kind of salary damage when they are building something kind of nice. And don't get me wrong, it's intriguing. But no, I wouldn't do it if I'm the Knicks. And I don't really think LeBron wants New York either.
I don't think he's going to take a year off. I think he's going to miss some games next year. I don't think he's going to take a whole year off. hence rest minutes. I mean, like you look at his final game this postseason.
Right.
He played 40 minutes, 40
Right.
plus minutes in that game. 40.
Right.
40 freaking minutes.
32 points in the first half, and he had single digits in the second
Oh,
half.
yeah. No, he was a
He ran out of juice.
He was a dud in the second half.
He ran out of juice. He was exhausted. He ran out of
but
juice.
But he still played 40 minutes.
No, I get it.
He still played 40 minutes. So it's like, I get what the NBA is doing, but at the same time, like, you can't he's not Jordan, number one. We can all agree. Jordan was 41. He played all 82 games.
That he did.
41.
That he did.
He played all 82 games in one season.
LeBron only played about 49 or 50 this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Jordan was 41. He played all 82 games.
He needs to take a back seat. Either Hidalgo commenting. He needs to take a back seat and just enjoy the game of basketball. Hang on, Brett. Hang on. I'm reading Ivan's comment here. Hold that thought.
Yeah, here we go.
He needs to take a back seat and just enjoy the game of basketball, play the game he loves, and make his money. Whether he wins or loses, at the end of the day, you can't win them all, man. There are a lot of stars that want to be at championship competitive level. He might be the greatest of this era, but not the GOAT. So Ivan's with us. His finals record does not help his cause. Yeah, Ivan, I'm with you, dude. Absolutely with you on that. But yeah, my point, and I could be wrong, dude. I think he's taking a year off. I think he's going to get his body right, his mind right, take some time, and I think he's going to figure out where Bronny's going, and you're going to see the father and son situation similar to Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. in baseball. Zappy, what's going on, dude? I think you're here. Or are you?
I'm here. I've got myself
welcome.
I'm here, bud. Yeah, I got myself a little dinner break right now. Still in the middle of the tournament. Things going well. I'm sitting pretty. So yeah, I just decided to jump on with you guys and talk some Le Flop.
Yeah, always bet on black.
It's you, dude. It's you. Go.
Always bet on black.
Let it rip.
No, so to Brett's point, I do not think LeBron has taken a year off. He cannot afford to take a year off at this point in his career. And secondly, I think he's going to let his son write his own chapter, because I think his son sees the amount of scrutiny he's getting, and because his son has that name associated with him, it's going to follow him, and we're already watching that right now. I mean, people like myself, Idris, we're tearing up Bronny because of the name, because personally, I don't think he's that good of a basketball player, but when you have your LeBron James' son, people are going to hype you up a little more. And this is the same thing we saw with Michael Jordan's son when he was coming out of UCF. It was just nothing, he never lived up to the hype. So I think LeBron's going to play this year. I think he's going to play with the Lakers. After that, the possibility of him signing with the team that has the number one pick, I mean, we could start to look at which teams is the possibility, and we could talk about Portland, we could talk about Houston, and possibly even the Mavericks if they just blow it up this offseason. But, there's a few things, but I just can't see a 39-year-old LeBron James deciding to take a year off when his body is talking to him. Secondly, I don't think he's going to retire, because you don't make a quote. Once again, I hate whenever he makes statements like this, but you don't make a statement saying you're better than 90 to 95% of the NBA and talk about retirement. You just don't do that. Whenever you're talking 90%. About, well, he said 90, maybe even 95.
He said 90%.
Okay, Brad, I love you too. What? Anyways, what I'm saying is you just don't make that quote. Now, if he was really considering retirement, he would talk more about the fact that the game, it seems to just be passing me now. The speed of the game, these guys are getting younger and faster, and quite frankly, I just can't keep up with them for 4 quarters. We saw it on full display. I blasted him online because when the game has mattered most throughout these playoffs, he has disappeared in the second half, but more importantly, the fourth quarter, and we saw it once again. I don't care how tired he was. If you know this is a championship fight, if you know you're going to go for 12 rounds, then you know you need to prepare your body for a 12-round fight. You don't come out in the first 6 rounds, leave it all in the cage, and then sit there and say, oh, well, I did enough in the first 6, and I'm going to win just because of the judge's decision. You don't do that. LeBron knows this. Whether he's 39, 23, you always prepare your body correctly. And he chose to play those minutes, great. But the fact of the matter is, when the game mattered most in the fourth quarter, especially those final 6 minutes when Jokic was standing with 5 fouls, where was LeBron? He drove the ball in one time on Jokic. One time. I'm sorry, any NBA player with the right state of mind would know to attack him and get their best player out of the game, because unfortunately, Jokic is not going to contest a lot of balls, especially with 6 left, because he's not going to get himself out. If he fouls out, it's going to be all on Jamal Murray. And who else? Michael Porter Jr.? No.
Zappy
so that's why I think there was just a lot of failures. And I think we see with LeBron
coming with this rage. I like it, though. And that's a great point, Zappy, because with 5 personal fouls,
hey, man,
not taking it at the other team's best player is an excellent point. I spoke about that to some coworkers today. It's definitely been a hot topic about the approach of how LeBron James won about, and even the final possession, or the second to final possession, I should say, because they did get one final shot. What I couldn't believe is just stagnating at the top of the key. That was just, I don't understand what the play was, what the strategy was. They couldn't get a quality shot. That was crazy to me.
How many threes did he miss? He was like over.
He was over for everything. I mean, he was
over 17 or some shit.
Yeah, he was trying to be Ray Allen.
Yeah,
he was trying. And I'm sorry, like you went out, you made all these deadline deals. You brought in 7 new players throughout the season. You brought them in for this reason. And then you just go out there and it's like, all right, no, I got this guy. No, you don't do that. And then he, like I said, he overexerted himself in the first half. And what? I can't give the guy credit for scoring 32 points in the first half, because they had a 15-point lead at halftime. And what happened? They got outscored by 20 in the third quarter.
Where was it? 1 second. I gotta play advocate 1 second here. Whether you scored 32 points in the third quarter, the fourth quarter, the first half, whatever have you, I can't discount the fact that the man scored 32 points in the first half.
Yeah, but no one's talking about
bias of not liking him, not giving him credit for dropping 32 in the first half. I won't do that. What I agree with you on. What I agree with you on is that yes, he burned out in the fourth quarter, but his team was down 3-0. I didn't see anybody else on the Lakers digging that deep to bring that kind of intensity at all.
No, they were mentally defeated after Game 3.
Anthony Davis isn't 38 years old.
No, they were just mentally defeated. They were mentally defeated after Game 3. The way they lost Game 3, I think they thought they were going to go right back into LA and take control of the series, tie it back up going into Denver Game 5. And quite frankly, the script just did not work out in their favor. Denver is the better team. And it's just that's the bottom line. They presented a lot of matchup nightmares. And then the other reason why I talk about LeBron and his 32 points is everyone already forgot about Jamal Murray scoring 31 in the first half. But no one talks about that automatically because LeBron James.
It's a narrative. It's a narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what pisses me off.
I'll tell you what, though.
Pisses me off.
The one kid I like on LA is Austin Reeves, man. This kid reminds me. He reminds me of a Pistol Pete. He does. Austin Reeves, he reminds me of a Pistol Pete.
He reminds me of a better, not, what the hell was his name? Ashton Kutcher's twin.
What is
Ashton Kutcher's twin?
Kyle Korver, thank you.
Kyle Korver. No freaking way.
Pistol Pete, Brett? The only thing they have in common is they're both
that's
Caucasian.
Who he reminds me of. He reminds me of a Pistol Pete.
They're both Caucasian. What else do they have in common?
Dude, you give that kid another 2 or 3 years, and I'm telling you, he's gonna be the next White Chocolate.
White Chocolate? Dude, that guy don't have handles like. Dude, that guy don't have handles like White Chocolate. What are you saying right now?
Oh, he will. He will.
They're both white. That's what they have in common, apparently.
White chocolate, baby. White chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if that's what we're going off, I'm sure somebody on the Colorado Avalanche is.
You heard it here first, kids. You heard it here first.
No, dude, I can't even entertain
the next White Chocolate, baby.
Pistol
the next White Chocolate. Yeah.
Jason Williams, Mom, former Sacramento King, former.
You didn't know white chocolate was.
White chocolate.
Mama, I love you. I love you. Yeah, Jason Williams, Sacramento Kings.
Jason Williams, Sacramento Kings. He got traded from Mike Bibby. The Kings got better after they traded Jason Williams because, as entertaining as he was a turnover machine. Before we get out of here, I do want to hit on some of the happenings of MLB. Zappy, Mr. Bresky, Elder, myself. Let me start with Zappy for a moment, since I don't know, he might be out of lung capacity after that tirade, which I really enjoyed.
Never, not when it comes.
Zappy, let me ask you a question.
Before you do, Brett,
he's here.
What?
He said, "I believe I am still better than 90% of the NBA, and maybe 95."
Yes, he did.
And maybe 95. He said it. I just found his quote. So, anyways, ask away.
Okay.
Ask away.
All right, Zappy, I'm going to start with you. What is your take on the 50 or so game plateau in MLB right now? I want you to give me a couple of contenders, a couple of pretenders, and just tell me who kind of sucks.
So I think it's pretty clear. I'll start with my division, the AL West. Texas is hands down a contender. They are going to be in a battle for the rest of the season with Houston. That division is going to get two teams into the playoffs. It was a lot of people, including ourselves, thought it would have been Seattle, but Seattle is more of the pretender this year. The Angels, I think they're still pretenders, but let's wait and see if they make a couple of deadline deals. Going to the Central, I think that division belongs to the Twins. The Guardians are just underachieving completely. The AL East, I tend to believe that entire division is a contender right now. Baltimore is surprising some people, but these last two games, today and yesterday, I think they're getting a nice rude awakening that they weren't expecting. Tampa Bay, they've kind of come back down to earth, but a lot of that has to do with injuries to their pitching rotation. And then, so in that division, I got to believe that just by the way everyone is playing right now, it's going to be the Yankees, Baltimore, and the third team will probably be Tampa Bay. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Toronto. And I think out of the five teams, Boston is the biggest pretender. And then in the National League, I mean, I'm going to put my hat up. I'm going to say the Braves. I mean, they're owning that division. I still think the Mets are going to make a run for it in the second half. The Cardinals are coming on strong now. I think they're contenders. Their record doesn't show it right now, but the way they've been playing as of late, I do believe they're contenders. The Brewers, just do not give it away like you did last year, and you'll be fine. So as of right now, I still have the Brewers as a contender. And then going to the NL West, Dodgers contenders, Padres contenders, D-backs are going to be pretenders. They're riding that early season wave.
Okay. I agree with most of what you said, Zappa. I'm gonna rebuttal you on one thing that I don't agree with. I don't consider the Cardinals a contender because I don't consider the NL Central any good. Sorry, Jeff. I know you're a Cubs fan. I think that division is kind of like a wet turd. The Cardinals are the best. They have the best track record of everybody that's in that division. I am kind of optimistic when I think about the Pittsburgh Pirates' future. I don't necessarily know if that translates to October this year. I'll give the Cardinals the edge because of the pedigree and the culture in that organization. I'm going to give them that part, but I don't necessarily think they have a greatly constructed team to hang with the teams that you mentioned. But I might surprise you on this one. I think the Padres are pretending just a little. And the reason why I think the Padres are pretending is because I don't think they have the right man leading their team.
Yeah, and the Padres, the only reason why I say they're contenders is because if you look at that roster from top to bottom, whether it's pitching or hitting, they've got an absolutely dangerous roster. But again, we spoke about this before the season started, and we believed that the season was going to fall in the hands of Bob Melvin and how he handles this roster. In my opinion, right now, he's getting an F, and he's probably got 1 month left of managing that team. And then in the second half comes, and that's when I think the Padres will take off. As far as the Cardinals, the reason why I have them contenders is because I'm looking at their history of how they play baseball in the second half, especially leading up to the second half, and we're kind of seeing the same story yet again, where they're getting hot. The bats are finally getting going. The pitching's finally getting going. I like the Cardinals right now. like I said, their record doesn't show it, but it's just based on, I guess it's more on recency bias and what this team always does year in, year out. They'll make that deadline deal. They'll make a push. And I mean, like you said, the Central sucks, but I still have to name a contender from that division. And I would put my money on more on the Cardinals than I would the Brew Crew right now. And even though the Brewers have the division.
I view the Cardinals like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this year's playoffs. Somebody has to win a bad division, but I can't put that word contender next to that. I do know that they have a history of having underwhelming seasons and then just kicking ass in the playoffs. I don't think that's this Cardinals team. Bretsky, I do want to ask you this. Give me a couple of underachievers in your opinions, or just anything that you want to speak on. Who do you see that's for real when it matters most? Because we know the Dodgers have been a great regular season team.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
The Dodgers. I mean, I've been with the Padres, for the past 2 or 3 years. I think they can take the Dodgers in a postseason matchup. The Braves, Jesus, it's kind of hard not to root for them. They have a solid team. Okuna is just lights out, unbelievable. I'm kind of curious to see what the Mets are going to do. Without their closer, it's really difficult to see what they're going to do. They're very talented, but with Scherzer and Verlander very healthy, if they're healthy after the All-Star break, they can make a run. It's just really difficult to see what can happen when they don't have their designated closer. But they still can manufacture runs. The AL East is so up in the air right now. I mean, literally, we can have 4 teams that can make the playoffs, and it's just, it's really. I'm actually surprised by the Toronto pitching. I'm surprised by that. Like that kind of caught me off guard. I mean, their offense is going to put up runs, but their pitching has actually been pretty solid most of the season already.
So you feel that they're I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to piggyback you off the Toronto point. Do you think a team like a Toronto, who happens to be in last at the moment, but that could be super temporary because everybody has a winning record.
Yeah.
Do you think a team like Toronto, given the heightened expectations coming into the year, because I've been on this for a while, do you think they go in the direction, if say they miss the playoffs, even if they have a winning record, which is very possible, do you think Don Mattingly jumps into that manager's chair?
Ooh.
That's been a topic that I've been thinking of.
It's a possibility. I'm not going to just, say that it's not going to happen. It definitely is a possibility. Like, I mean, anything's kind of up in the air with that team. It could happen. Do I want it to happen? No. But it definitely could happen. But I mean, the whole AL East is just stacked. And
who wins it? Who wins it, Brett? Right now, 50 games in, you can't tell the future, but what does your gut tell you? Who's winning this division?
Who's winning this division? I'm going to be Yankees. I'm going to go Yankees, and it's not because I'm a homer. It's not because I'm a homer. It's because
it's 50 games.
No, it's because we're not even healthy. We're not even fully healthy. And how many games we won in the past 20 days?
Yeah. The Yankees definitely have picked up
the way that we're winning. Aaron Judge just had an AL Player of the Week. You know what I mean? So
how many games is MLB right now?
They're within the early 50s, the late 40s, depending on who got rained out.
Early
they're about a third of the way.
Early 50s.
I honestly didn't know.
Yeah, well, you've been in hockey mode, and that's okay. Yeah. But this is the thing. I do want to. The reason I agree with you, Brett, about the Yanks winning that division is because Zappy said it to me off air. I reiterated it on the morning show. Tampa's only about 7 or 8 games over 500.
Yeah.
Since the almost best start ever.
Yeah, with a 20 game win streak. something like that.
No, it wasn't that far. It wasn't that far
They
along.
were
But the point
they
is,
started 13-0.
Yeah,
13-0,
they
didn't get
almost
the
broke
14th.
the A's. They almost broke the not almost
The
broke.
point
but
is, the point is,
they came
is
close
that
to it.
since then they're still 7 or 8 over 500 since then, which is still good, but it's not as dominant. And I think the problem for the Rays, they have a lot of bodies dropping. They have a lot of injuries,
Yeah.
and they're not in a position where if they got to make that deadline deal, they're necessarily going to have the resources to do it. I think the Yankees, a team like even the Blue Jays, if they make a last stab at something, the teams that are willing to do stuff like that. I have a funny feeling the Rays in the second half of the year might fall all the way down to third. I'm not even joking. Jeff, if your Cubs somehow win the National League Central with a record of 79 and 83,
dude.
Could happen, dude. It could happen.
2016.
Honestly,
Maybe they trade for Aroldis Chapman again.
I want it all back, but I watched my first Cubs game last night, and we beat the Mets 7-2.
Yeah, you picked a good one to watch. Yeah, they knocked.
But
They knocked out their starter early. McGill left early.
Did I cheer? No, I know who's on my team. I know we got what was it?
Patrick Wisdom. You got Wisdom.
We got Wisdom. We got Bellinger. Yeah,
they're not good. The point is the point is that division's not good. And I'm not trying to troll you and be a jerk because I do have a sensitivity for the Cubs because my grandfather was a diehard Cubs fan.
Absolutely.
Zappy.
I see it, but we haven't done shit. I mean,
I gotta fling this to Zappy. I gotta fling this to Zappy for a moment.
Thank you for Rizzo.
Dude.
Yeah,
I just want Rizzo back. Are you kidding me?
He might go back at the end. Zappy, I gotta throw this at you.
He might.
Before we get out of here, I gotta throw this at you, Zappy. There were some illegal activities going on in New England. What are your thoughts on this with the OTA situation? Did you happen to see that story at the table?
Yeah, I sent it to you.
You were the one who sent it to me. I had a blitzkrieg of stuff coming in, so
yeah, because it has something to do with my comment a little while ago. And before I get into that, here's my big thing: AL East, NL East.
2.5 minutes.
I got you. NL East, AL East. We're going to see 2 big trades. I believe the Phillies will trade either Zach Wheeler or Aaron Nola to someone in the AL East, and I believe the Mets will trade Max Scherzer. Anyways, now to answer your question,
that's a hot take and a half.
Keep going. That's a hot take, but he has 2 minutes.
There's this team. There's a guy on this panel right now that he tends to. It's his second favorite team. I don't know, third favorite team. What are you now, a Jets fan, Brett? Come on now. We got the Jets, we got the Bills, we got the Patriots. Well, let's talk about the Patriots doing some illegal activity. Now they got docked 2 practices. So now their practice tomorrow has been canceled, and they have 1 other practice from OTAs being canceled. That's not a good look. That's just not a good look, especially right now for Bill Belichick, with so many things up in the air, so many questions about that team, not on the defensive side, but more on the offensive side of the ball. It's just not a good look when you're a 4th place.
They did bring in Juju, though. Juju's a nice route runner and a good outfield blocker, but they need more.
We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice.
He's pulling an AI on you.
Okay. We're talking about practice. This is OTAs. Who gives a shit about illegal practices?
And we thought they were who they thought they were.
We're talking about practice.
That's like a slight.
We're talking about practice.
Fine him for
25K. Fine him for 25K and move the frick on.
Those
Get
practices,
the frick out of here with this bullshit.
Those practices.
They had an extra practice. Get the fuck
those
out
practices are very important for those rookies, those undrafted rookies. Those are what those practices go towards. It's helping these guys learn the game.
Oh, fuck out of here, dude. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice.
All right, listen.
The Patriots are who we thought they were, okay?
Hey,
bottom of the barrel.
Whatever. Bottom of the
Listen,
barrel.
fellas, we're coming
There.
up on the 30-second mark.
America's team, my balls.
All right, hold on, Brett. Okay, we can continue this off air before we get canceled tonight. Zappy, thank you for coming in during your card game. I greatly appreciate that. Jeff,
Yeah, I'm about to go
always
back in.
welcome to fly in, especially during hockey season. You're going to be a great contributor on our hockey future here.
Yes, sir.
Gretzky, I'm sorry about your Patriots, but you should be used to this. Please
I'm
like
not.
and subscribe to the channel, the Richie X Jr. Sports Podcast. We are out.